Usually I have to give Dave one.
That's fair. I'm notorious for keeping them, but he's good at getting them back. Right.
Ready? Okay. Okay, we'll get started. Okay, good evening and welcome to the Morrison County Planning Commission public hearing for January 30th, 2024. If you please rise for the flag pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Yeah, I have a few items to cover before we get started. Please sign in at the door if you have not done so already. There you will find a detailed handout of the step-by-step procedure we will follow tonight. If you wish, please take one. Please put any electronic devices on silent mode at this time. Also, please note that all testimony is being recorded for the record. Members of the Planning Commission are appointed by the County Board of Commissioners with one member from each of the 5 commissioner districts. Land service staff is here to assist the Planning Commission with the duties. The task of the Planning Commission is to hold a public hearing and make a recommendation to the County Board of Commissioners for approval or denial of requests for conditional and interim use permits, rezones, plats, and ordinance amendments in accordance with state law and county ordinance. The burden of proving a request meets the criteria for approval rests with the applicant. There is a protocol for how we will proceed tonight. For each request on the agenda, we will hear a staff report, hear testimony from the applicants, and then we will discuss and gather more information as needed. Next, I will ask if there is anyone in the audience wishing to speak to the request. I will ask each party to come to the podium, state their name and address for the record, and give their testimony. Please be as factual as possible and direct all statements and questions to me. After all testimony is completed, I will close the public hearing portion of this process. The Planning Commission will then review and discuss the case in terms of our finding of fact criteria as required by Minnesota statute and county ordinance. We will have a series of votes, discuss whether conditions be made. Then there will be a final motion to recommend approval or denial to the County Board of Commissioners. After this final vote on your request, you may leave if you wish. The County Board of Commissioners will then consider the request and our recommendation at their next regular meeting and will either grant or deny your request. So first on the agenda, we have to do election of officers quick. So I guess at this time, I'll open it up and take nominations for chair.
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead, John.
nominate Clint Catherine for chair.
Is there any other nominations?
I would like to second that and close nominations.
Okay. So we'll cast a unanimous ballot for Clint Catherine for chair. All in favor, say aye. Marv,
Aye.
John,
Aye.
Dave,
Aye.
myself, Clint is aye. Okay, vice chair. Any nominations for vice chair? I'll nominate Brent Lindgren.
Second.
Any other nominations? Any other nominations? Hearing no other nominations, we'll vote for Brent Lindgren for vice chair. All in favor, say aye. Marv,
Aye.
John,
Aye.
Dave,
Aye.
myself, Clint is aye. Okay, secretary, any nominations for secretary?
I believe Mark Treadle has filled that position admirably in the past.
Pull your microphone. Pull your microphone.
So you've got a nomination.
Made Mark Treadle.
Okay. Any other nominations for secretary? Any other nominations for secretary? Any other nominations for secretary? Here none, we'll vote for Marv for secretary. All in favor, say aye. Marvin,
Aye.
John,
Aye.
Dave.
Aye.
Myself, Clint is aye. Okay, so that is it for the elections. Okay, so now we'll move on to our next item on the agenda. So that would be Brent Lucas, 13497 20th Street, Bolus, Minnesota. We come up to the podium. Application for an interim use permit to establish an automotive repair business located in the point of southeast quarter of northwest quarter of section 30, township 127, range 29, Two Rivers Township. Please state your name for the record.
Brent Lucas.
Okay. I guess we'll move on. Amy, you ready with the staff report?
Mr. Chair, I'm just gonna say you can pull that microphone down. There you go.
Okay.
All right, Mr. Chair, this is an application for an interim use permit to establish an automotive repair shop located in section 30 of Two Rivers Township. The ordinance reference for this request is section 604.7, and that requires an interim use permit for automotive repair businesses. Here's a plat map of Two Rivers Township, and the red dot is the location of the parcel. And then here's the interim use permit request received from the applicant. And a site drawing also provided by the applicant. And then here's an aerial photograph of the parcel outlined in blue. And then some oblique imagery of the property. The applicant owns and lives on this 18.23 acre parcel, and the applicant requests an interim use permit to operate an automotive repair shop within the detached garage. No new construction is proposed, and that was indicated on the site drawing. The parcel is served by an easement road off 20th Street, which is a gravel township road. And then here's aerial imagery with the path, I guess, or way to the property highlighted. You can see the 20th Street to the north, and then the easement road goes to the south and to the west. The applicant attended a development review team meeting, and the proper storage and disposal of automotive fluids and waste was discussed. The applicant indicated that he is aware of these requirements, and we also discussed the use of the easement for customer traffic. Staff recommended the applicant discuss the proposed use with the neighbors affected. Uses on adjacent parcels are primarily rural residences and crop field. The nearest residences are on the east and west side of the property, and there is a tree line that provides screening on the north and east of the shop. So here is some imagery, again, showing what's going on around this site and the location of the proposed shop. The applicable comprehensive plan goals and objectives is in agriculture, goal A1, and then objective 6, goal A2, objective 1, local economic development, goal C1, objective 1 and 8, goal C2, objectives 1 and 2, 4, 7, and 19. Some suggested conditions, if this is approved, would be to abide by all applicable state and local laws regarding automotive repair and proper disposal of fluids and wastes, maintain records of disposal of automotive fluids and wastes, and provide for review of records at the request of the Land Services Department. No outdoor storage of vehicles or vehicle components, except for the vehicles on site for service, shall be located on the property. 27 notices were sent. One comment was received prior to the public hearing. That was from Gina Salatros. I believe she is on the Two Rivers Township Board. She stated that she does not think the township would have an issue with the request, but to note that the township will not be taking over that easement road anytime soon. All right, and then here are your interim use criteria questions, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Amy. Okay, Brent, one thing on these interim use permits, we usually have an end date. So you give any thought to that, when that would be if we move forward with this? What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I did think about that. I would say either if I were to sell the property or possibly if there was a new construction proposed, if I had to build a new shop or something like that. I don't know what the process is for, constructing a new shop. But that's why I thought maybe that would be the way to go. Cause if I had to build, a multiple bay shop, whereas right now it's just technically it's a 2-stall garage. So if I had to build something bigger than that, that might be a time to relook at it.
Okay, that'd be fine, because then you'd have to redo your
Yeah.
interim use permit at that time.
Right.
Okay. Okay, so that's what you want is, if you have to build a bigger shop, or should we put that in and sell the property? What's your thought?
Mr. Chair, I would say you could probably do a combo that, that this interim use permit would be valid until he no longer owns the property, or when,
Change in his,
or when he builds another building. So then either way, whichever one of those happens, you'd be looking at that.
okay, you'd be fine with that?
Yeah, would that just be for a building related to the business?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead, Dave.
that doesn't mean that he couldn't continue his business. He could apply for an IUP again, if he builds a shop, or prior to building the shop.
Right.
And to see that that could be accommodated. And maybe there might be new conditions, by that time you'd have input from the neighbors, see how it's going.
Yep.
But yeah, a new order would mean that the new order would, if they wanted to continue business, would have to come in and get an IUP for that. So it doesn't mean that's the end of the business, these conditions.
Oh, no. No, this would just be when this particular permit,
Sure,
and it would just need to come before for another hearing.
just so that you were clear on that.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, before we get too far down this rabbit hole, you heard the staff report. Is there anything that you'd like to add to that, or?
When it was mentioned about the easement road,
Okay.
I did discuss it with all of the neighbors. The people I discussed it with were John Parks, Timothy Strom, Justin Rule, and Travis Marquette. And either through voice or text, they all approved it with essentially the same condition that if, I would have to build or increase the size of my business, that we would relook at the easement. But they all agreed with the current proposed plan for my business, that the current easement is acceptable.
Okay, well, I'm sure we'll have some questions. So I guess now I'll open it up to anybody on the planning commission. If you guys have any questions for the applicant or staff, I guess now's the time.
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead, John.
do you already have, equipment like a lift and everything in there?
So the current garage cannot accept a lift with the status of the concrete inside.
Okay.
So there is no lift in there. I repair my own vehicles and like close family vehicles right now. And I just do it on the ground with, floor jacks and jack stands and such.
Okay, what kind of traffic do you think, or how many customers or clients are you anticipating on a weekly basis?
On a weekly basis, I would probably say somewhere around 2 to 3 vehicles starting out. I have been talking with the Rice Post Office to try to service some of their vehicles because they expressed, not able to get their vehicles in places. And then I also have a construction company in St. Cloud, but they were looking for a mobile service, so that wouldn't be traffic coming onto my property. I would be going to them. So starting out, I don't think the traffic would be much more than 2 to 3 cars a week.
Thank you.
Yep.
Anybody else have any questions?
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead, Marv.
okay, so it was discussed with the DRT meeting about disposal of rags and oil filters and all. And going through the proper channels, and obviously you agree to that, correct?
Yep.
And so another thing you were talking about in the shop, is enclosed concrete, and I think I read in there, there's a floor drain in there. And being a previous mechanic and knowing what oil runoff and all, in the shop I worked with, there was a catch basin for oil and whatever. Is that drain gonna be plugged, or is that drain, what's gonna be done? So we don't contaminate soil there.
Yep, so the floor drain, from what I can tell, since it was constructed before I purchased the property, that there's no, I think it goes just right to the ground. There's not a drain pipe or anything. So anytime that I've ever serviced any of my own vehicles, I have it covered up pretty much all the time with cardboard or carpet, but I for sure would be willing to completely plug it for this to go through. Because I essentially, when I saw that it doesn't have proper drainage, I essentially pretended that my garage does not have a floor drain. Because I've gone to school for automotive, which included taking a hazmat class, so I learned all about proper disposal and all that stuff. And I've been working as a professional mechanic for the last 8 to 9 years, and you know, they all dispose of their stuff properly.
Okay, great. Otherwise, they do make serving paths that you could set in there too.
Right, no, I have, with all the, I don't have a lift and such, but I do have, you know, toolboxes and all that stuff, which includes drain pans for coolant and oil, so that it stays separate and I can recycle it properly. Any service that I have been doing on my own vehicles, I've used the east side disposal location in Rice. And then, for scrap metal, I take it to Midway Iron.
Okay, perfect. Sounds good. Thank you.
Dave, you have anything for the applicant?
The suggested conditions that are on the staff report.
Okay.
You are familiar with them and are okay with them?
Yeah,
No outdoor storage of vehicles or components, except for the ones that are being serviced, maintain records of your disposal, so if you do a 50-gallon drum somewhere, you just have it on record,
okay,
and, things like that, and applied by state and local laws.
I did have a question with the, storage of like automotive parts. So like rotors and the more physical, not fluids, I do keep all, you know, used fluids inside until they're disposed of. For like scrap metal, is there a recommend like a container I could put them in? So that, you know, instead of having all that scrap metal inside the building.
Oh, sure.
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead, Amy.
I would suggest getting maybe one of those plastic totes that, you know, are in those wheeled frames or something.
Yep.
So that way then, yeah, you have limited space
Right.
in there. And so certainly containing those and storing that alongside the building or something would be perfectly acceptable.
Okay,
I think it's fair to say that as long as it looks good around your place, there won't be any questions.
okay,
It's just, you know, excessive amount of vehicles, you know, yeah, I'm sure you've seen where
Yeah.
they've
Yep.
grown on people's property. Amy, is there a set of standards, business standards that goes with this?
No, we do not have performance standards within the ordinance, so so that's really why we're seeing the suggested condition of abiding by the state and localized kind of a belt and suspenders approach to that. That's really their performance standards, that they're properly handling, storing, and disposing of those fluids and wastes. If there was a violation of that, that actually would be something the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency and or our solid waste program would be taking care of that, because that's not under the purview, but it would be a violation of the use permit too, if we have that as a condition.
And how close is the nearest neighbor?
I would say the nearest one would probably be,
Right here?
no, well, to the shop, yes, but there's brush in between my shop and their building. So the guy who would probably be most effective would be Timothy Strom on the left side of the screen. Since there's not really any sort of barrier.
Yeah. A lot of times for rural businesses like this, we address noise and hours of business and, you know, anything that might interrupt the neighborhood. But I can't see anything here that would happen that 2 or 3 cars a week. Assume by the time you need a new shop, you might be up to, what would trigger that? 10 cars a week, 20 cars a week?
Yeah, something where, you know, the profits could justify building a new building. So I would definitely say it would have to be somewhere near 10 cars a week would justify a new building.
Okay. Well, we're not talking a lot of, right, okay.
Right.
Okay. And your hours would be, I mean, there would be like showing it more than you have right now, probably.
Yeah, so I would try to keep the hours similar to what I'd worked in the past, you know, the 8 to 5 or something like that, somewhere in that range, so that it's not really bothering,
Mhm.
you know, people when they're going to sleep or anything like that.
Yeah, if you were to expand your business there, that might become more of an issue, but,
Right.
yeah. All right, thank you.
Okay. So Amy, can you just zoom in just a little bit on that? I just want to see what's kind of around the neighborhood. Because I know this is out in ag. Don't look like there's like a ton of farms real close.
I can turn the feedlot layer.
Yeah, the feedlot layer would be great. Just to see if this would affect any of that.
Let me zoom out to show you. These are deactivated feedlots, so
Okay.
the nearest feedlots are over here.
Okay, so we're a long ways away.
Yeah, so nothing in the immediate vicinity.
Okay. Okay, good. So I think all the questions I had were pretty much answered already. The only thing maybe Amy, you could just explain a little bit the easement road.
Mhm.
Just to clarify what that actually means or
You
the
bet.
definition of that, if you have that.
Yes, I will get to this slide. So when we're looking at this parcel essentially is landlocked. It does not front a public road. This is the nearest public road, and this is a township road. And so in order for people to access this property, they're utilizing an easement or passageway through other people's property, and it's over two different properties here, actually three, to get to this. So this is an easement that he has for ingress and egress and to get to and from this public road. And so when we were discussing in the development review team meeting that more than just him, you know, there would be a business purpose then for this easement, and to be sure that these neighbors that had given easement were aware of the use of this easement would change. And so that's what the applicant had stated he had done and had talked to them, and so they were aware. All of these neighbors also received a mailed notice of this, and we haven't received any comment.
Okay. So then all them people on that easement road, they're kind of, you guys go together and maintain that road, or who maintains it?
That's correct. There's 5 of us on that easement and we are the ones who pay to maintain that road.
Okay,
That's where, when I discussed it, they said if, you know, essentially the same condition that if I had to build a new shop, I would have a significant increase of traffic where we could redo the easement and I would cover a bigger portion
Okay.
of the repair cost of the road.
okay. Well, it sounds like you're pretty forward thinking on that and have a good relationship with your neighbors, so that's great, because that's what it needs to be, so, and that sounds like you're willing to at least understand that that'd probably be more of your obligation than theirs if, there would be more traffic, so.
Yep.
Okay, I guess I don't have any other questions. You guys have any other questions? Do you have anything, questions for us?
I don't think so, no.
Okay. So you guys ready just to go through the?
Mr. Chair, do you want to open it up for public comment?
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. Getting ahead of myself. Okay, we'll open this portion of the meeting for the public comment. If anybody would have public comment, please go up to the podium, speak into the microphone, state your name and where you're from for the record. Any public comment? I gotta ask 3 times, so I'll ask one more time. Anybody with public comment? Hearing no public comment, we'll close this portion of the meeting to the public. Now we'll move on to our criteria questions. Okay, question 1, the use will not put an excess burden on roadways, utilities, and public facilities such as schools and parks. John?
We covered down on this one pretty good with the number of cars or traffic and the relationship you referenced with his neighbors there and the access burden that may exist for that easement road. That's really the only one, nothing, no concerns with the public roads at all.
Okay, thank you. Anybody have anything else to add to question 1? Now we'll move on to question 2. The request will not be detrimental to the use and enjoyment of other property in the immediate vicinity for the purposes already permitted, nor impede the normal and orderly development and improvement of surrounding vacant property for uses predominant area. Okay, I'll take this one. It's out in ag. I guess this is a use that we allow in ag. So we looked at the maps. The closest neighbors to the what direction that'd be the east. We looked around and being it's ag, it don't look like it's gonna affect any of our feedlots out in that area. So it won't be really detrimental to anybody as far as improvements, any of them things. We had talks in length about the easement of the road. So I don't think, by having this repair shop in that garage, you have a car or two in the garage, maybe one parked in front of it. Even if everybody in the neighborhood ain't even gonna see that there's anything really different there. As long as there ain't a bunch of cars parked all over, so. I believe, question 2, I can answer yes to, because I don't think it's gonna really affect anybody in the neighborhood. Anybody have anything else to answer or add to question 2?
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead, Dave.
And the nice thing about this, it's an IUP, an interim use permit, and it does have a trigger that it would have to be reviewed again with the expansion, the addition of a building and addition of more traffic, which by then we would know if, from the neighbors, their input on if it would be detrimental to the use of their properties. So I think he's covered very well there.
Thank you, Dave. Anybody else? If not, we'll move to question 3. The use and opinion of the planning commission is reasonably related to the existing land use and the environment. Groundwater, surface water, and air quality in the surrounding area will not be adversely affected by this proposed use. Dave? Question 3.
Reasonably related to the existing use, yes, the existing use, the biggest concern is the flow of traffic, and 2 or 3 cars a week, up to maybe 10 cars a week is not going to be detrimental to and it is a very reasonable flow of traffic. Shouldn't affect any neighbors, and water, noise, air quality should all be protected. The applicant is trained. We don't get that very often, that we have a certified fellow that's been through hazmat training and knows how to handle these things, and he's pretty well explained his shop and how he's gonna store stuff. Yes, it's pretty easy answer to number 3, reasonably related and no environmental issues.
Anybody else add anything, Marv?
Mr. Chair, so a couple things he explained, and Dave probably elaborated a little bit on it, but he were talking about the conditions and what he explained about the oil and fluids and handling and all that, but another thing is plugging the floor drain, not contaminating the soil. So, yeah, it's definitely forward thinking with this.
Yeah, I'd agree. All I'd add is, did a good job in your application. You spelled it all out in front of, for us. We could understand where you're coming from, your experiences and the willingness of what you want to do things right. I think that helps us, speed through this process. Actually, we know it all. You did a good job in your application. So with that, we'll move to question 4. Question 4, the use is consistent with the purposes of the zoning ordinance and the purposes of the zoning district in which the applicant intends to locate the proposed use. Marvin?
I believe it is, and as stated about from Dave about an IEP in the controls we have with IEP. And then also it's in a very rural area. I'm familiar with this area. I've got friends and relatives that live right around there. And another comment I want to make is it's great to see that we have another mechanic willing to go out in the field, because there's definitely a shortage of them in that. And one other comment about this with the zoning ordinance is we were talking about to the township, the approval of the township goes huge with it. But then we also talked about this is a road that is off to the side, and he's agreed to what his neighbors on that. So it's it fits the zoning ordinance, it fits you know, the rural area fits in here well, and you won't even know it's there.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else have anything to add to question 4?
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead, Dave.
just that the ordinance also encourages us to, accommodate business within these areas when we can mitigate the impact of them on neighbors and neighborhood. And consistent with the zone and the ordinance.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we'll move on to question 5. The use is not in conflict with the comprehensive plan or the water plan of the county. John,
Like the applicant's answer here in his application, in addition to the staff report, where we're covering down on 4 goals and 8 different objectives applicable in support of this.
anybody else have anything to add to question 5?
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead, David.
the applicable plan goals and objectives were listed in the staff report. Ag goals, preserve ag land. This is already residential. The footprint isn't going to be any larger than it is. The applicant does have 18.3 acres, so plenty of room. Protect against conflicting uses, strong and viable, varied local economy. Encourage and support local entrepreneurs, mitigate impacts again. I think, yeah, very consistent with the goals stated in the staff report.
Okay, thank you. You guys ready to vote on the questions? Keep in mind, we have 3 conditions. I don't know if there's any need for any more unless you guys have anything. But the 3 conditions are in the back. Or with,
And
yep, I was gonna say that.
Oh.
So we have 3 conditions and then also our end date. So keep that in mind when you're voting. If you want to read through the conditions again, they're on the very back sheet of your packet for this applicant. Okay, otherwise we'll proceed to vote. Question 1, the use will not put an excess burden on roadways, utilities, and public facilities such as parks and schools. John?
Yes.
Clint, myself, yes. Dave?
yes,
Marvin?
Yes.
Question 2, the request will not be detrimental to the use and enjoyment of other property in immediate vicinity for the purposes already permitted, nor impede the normal and orderly development and improvement of surrounding vacant property for use of predominant area. Myself, Clint is yes. Dave?
yes,
Marvin?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Question 3, the use and opinion of the planning commission is reasonably related to the existing land use and the environment. Groundwater, surface water, and air quality in the surrounding area will not be adversely affected by this proposed use. Dave?
yes,
Marvin?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Myself, Clint is yes. Question 4, the use is consistent with the purposes of the zoning ordinance and the purposes of the zoning district in which the applicant intends to locate the proposed use. Marvin?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Myself, Clint is yes. Dave?
yes,
Question 5, the use is not in conflict with the comprehensive plan or the water plan of the county. John?
Yes.
Myself, Clint is yes. Dave?
yes,
Marvin?
Yes.
Okay, so we got, looks like all the questions were answered in affirmative, so I guess I would look for a motion to recommend approval.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a recommendation for approval with the conditions suggested.
Okay, so Marvin, he made a motion to recommend approval with the conditions on the end date. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay. There's a first and a second. All in favor, say aye. Marvin?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Dave?
aye,
Myself, Clint is aye. Okay. So we're gonna recommend approval to the county commissioners. And that they'll look at this, and that meeting will be February 13th. So,
Okay.
you don't have to be there if you don't want to. It's nice if people can be there, but you don't have to. Any questions or any concerns in between now and then, or even after that, contact Land Services and they'll help you through it.
Okay.
Thank you.
The board meeting is in this same room,
Okay.
but it's a daytime meeting. It's in the morning. It starts at 9 a.m.
Okay.
Okay?
Perfect. Thank you.
Good luck with it.
Thanks.
second round. This is here. Big bag. Okay, next on our agenda, we have the Franciscan Sisters of Little Falls and Cedar Creek Energy. So if the applicants, whoever's gonna speak for them, could come up to the podium. Okay, so here we have Franciscan Sisters of Little Falls and Cedar Ridge Energy. No property address, the applicant for a conditional use permit to install a 500 kW AC 753.48 kW DC ground mounted solar array located in point of northwest half of southwest quarter, section 17, township 40, range 32, Little Falls Township. If the applicants would state their names for the record and what you're affiliated with.
I'm Jason Bryman. I'm affiliated with Cedar Creek Energy.
Okay,
I'm Tracy Heidrich. I represent St. Gabriel's Hospital, who has some interest in this.
okay. Okay, so Amy, you ready for the staff report?
I am, Mr. Chair. Again, this is an application for conditional use permit to establish a community solar energy system. And this is located in section 17 of Little Falls Township. The ordinance references for this request is section 604.6 that requires a conditional use permit for solar energy systems. And section 1228 contains the performance standards for solar installations. Here's a plat map of Little Falls Township, and the red dot is the location of the parcel. And then here's the conditional use permit request received from the applicant. I'll just let you know I did not upload the entire application into this, but I do have all of the figures digitally in case you want to refer to them, but I don't have them all in the PowerPoint. And so here is the site drawing provided by the applicant as part of their application. And then here's an aerial photograph of the parcel outlined in blue. And then some will be oblique imagery of the parcel as well. So the Franciscan Sisters of Little Falls own this undeveloped 52-acre parcel. It is adjacent to the city of Little Falls and is served by a driveway that connects adjacent parcels owned by the Franciscan Sisters. So here is another figure just kind of showing how the road or how access to this parcel is given. The parcel is made up of idle grass and forest land. According to the USDA Web Soil Survey, the land is not considered prime farmland. The applicant requests a conditional use permit to install a 500 kilowatt ground mounted community solar system. Community solar energy system is defined as a solar, electric, or photovoltaic array that provides retail electric power for a financial proxy or retail power to multiple community members or businesses residing or located off-site from the location of the solar energy system. Under the provisions of Minnesota statutes 216B, 1641, or successor statutes. A community solar energy system may be either an accessory or principal use. The electricity produced from this solar installation will offset the electricity usage on the other properties the Franciscan Sisters own within the city of Little Falls. The installation is proposed on the northeast corner of the property, and the perimeter of the solar installation will be fenced, and the applicant intends to seed the solar installation area with a pollinator-friendly seed mix. And here is another site drawing provided by the applicant in their packet, just showing the location of the installation on that particular parcel. The property is under Little Falls Morrison County Airport zoning jurisdiction. The applicant requested an aeronautical study from the Federal Aviation Administration. The FAA did make a determination of no hazard to air navigation. The applicant attended a development review team meeting, and staff encouraged the applicant to discuss the proposed solar installation with the neighbors to the north and to implement a visual barrier along the north side of the property. The adjacent parcels to the north are within the city of Little Falls and zoned R3, which is multiple family residential district. Parcels to the south are zoned commercial. And then here is just the airport overlay and the zoning overlay for the airport areas. And then here's the zoning map. The adjacent parcels to the north, as I said, are within the city of Little Falls, and to the south is county, and that's zone commercial. The applicant has submitted quite a few documents as part of their application, and that includes the Morrison County Land Use Control Ordinance Review and Exhibits, site drawings and plans, a Phase 1 environmental site assessment, site photos, the DNR Conservation Planning Report, a decommissioning plan, and a solar interconnection agreement. Although by ordinance, the county can require financial assurance for decommissioning, Morrison County does not have a set decommissioning cost rate. The submitted decommissioning plan was reviewed against the decommissioning financial assurance requirements of other Minnesota counties with solar installations. The submitted schedule of total costs of decommissioning was $25,378, minus the estimated salvage value of $13,023. And that comes out to be about a third of the average of $48,125 of other counties' required funding requirements. Consideration should be given to the amount, interval of estimate update, and type of financial assurance the applicants should provide, whether that be a bond, letter of credit, escrow, CD, to ensure adequate funding for proper decommissioning. And then here is the solar decommissioning funding requirements of other counties that have installations and how this decommissioning plan cost estimate compares. The applicable comprehensive plan goals and objectives is agriculture goal A1, objective 6, A2, objective 1, A3, objective 1, and then local economic development goal C1 and C2, objectives 1, 2, 4, and 7, and 19. 322 notices were sent regarding this. One comment was received prior to the public hearing, and I'll read that now. This is from Mike Worcester. He said, please accept this email as my comments on the proposed solar array project adjacent to the Franciscan Sisters of Little Falls campus. As a relatively close neighbor to the campus, I asked the Planning Commission to support this application for a conditional use permit with two considerations. First, that there remains some sort of tree line barrier between the array and First Street Southeast Haven Road. Being this is a major connecting arterial between the downtown area and US Highway 10, the pine tree buffer is scenic and hopefully can be kept so that what travelers see is greenery, not solar panels. Second, I asked the Planning Commission not allow itself to be swayed by the political winds, which was proven in the past to be hostile to solar energy projects in this area. This type of project can only be beneficial for both the Franciscan Sisters and the community. And then here are your conditional use criteria questions, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Amy. At this time, would any of you two gentlemen have anything to add to the staff report or anything that you missed or you'd like to explain? Or?
Really add. I know that we had planned on planting, to that gentleman's comment there. We planned on planting black spruce around the system, along with the pollinator friend.
Okay.
And they're fast growing.
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead, Amy.
the people in the back can't hear you, so could you just pull your microphone up so everyone can hear you?
Yeah.
So he explained he's gonna plant some black spruce, you said,
Yeah, that's.
around the perimeter of the fence of the solar farm.
Yeah.
That's what you're proposing, along with pollinator plants underneath the solar panels. Okay. Anybody on the planning commission have any questions for the applicant or staff?
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead, Dave.
I assume you meant Black Hill spruce.
There you go. Yes.
Black Hill spruce.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Winston Phillip. So what's the design of the barrier? A single row on which side? Two sides? One
Single row, and I did not bring that part with me, but
I assume we want to have this as a condition possibly.
if that was a condition, then, yeah, I believe it was just on two parts of it, the south facing
Can you walk up and show us, point to it?
and the west, that would be by the road. Yeah, so just along the road. And this one.
May I comment?
Yeah, go ahead.
If the neighbor was concerned about, Haven Road, there's a pretty good mature tree line between the solar array and Haven Road.
Yeah.
And that, as far as I know, has no intention of being removed.
Okay. That's a question I had, is how many trees are getting, moved out for this project? And I'll get back to you, Dave.
You have none,
Okay,
I don't think they're.
anything small, very incidental.
okay, okay. Go ahead, Dave.
Oh, that's all I have for that.
That's all you really had, okay?
Mr. Chair,
John?
just a clarification point, not to hammer on the trees here, but are you talking about foot tall trees and the eyesore will be gone in 10 years, or are we talking larger trees and it'll be gone in 3 years?
No, when we usually with the companies we deal with, they're about, 6 foot tall when we plant them. And
Okay.
they're fast growing, but they're not little tiny
Okay.
that die right away. They're substantial. They're taller than me.
How long do you think is the total construction or install take?
That would be, this would probably be, I hate to say because, so many things could happen, but, this would probably be about a 2.5 month process. Cause it's 500 kilowatt, it's not that huge. But yeah, 2.5 to 3 months.
How many total workers?
At the most, there would be probably 25 guys on site. At the most, that'd be on the busiest day,
Okay,
but most of the time, 10 to 12 people.
okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Hey, Marvin, you have something?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I have a few questions. And when I first read this, I thought, oh boy, that's right next to the airport. How would that affect? And it's good to see, there was a lot of research here done and a lot of homework, which is great. There was a bit of reading here, but obviously, that was approved by the FAA. So that was okay. Then the next question is that how many acres is this going to affect? And looks like there's 84 acres that's Franciscan zone here. And if I did read this correctly, the size of this solar panel setup is 550 feet by 223 feet. Does that sound about correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so be a few acres, or what are you guessing? And
Marvin, it said in the staff thing, I read 4.2.
okay, thank you. I missed that.
Thank
A lot of information. Okay, and then the next question I had, well, here, being a work for Minnesota Power in the past and getting this back into their lines, and sounded like that was some research there, and were the right of way permits already done, or so this is be taken back. It sounded like MP was definitely interested in that. So are all permits in line for rerouting these lines back?
I believe everything has been. We've been through a lot of stuff. We did glare studies and everything. I believe that's all in motion now.
Okay. Because that was another concern, because sometimes it takes some time to get these permits in line, and items can be at a standstill for some time and not having the right of way permits to be able to utilize what they have there.
Yeah.
So another item I read, these solar panels, it's varied anywhere from 20 to 40 years of lifespan. And I mean, I don't know, there's a lot of variables, I suppose, in it, but on typical, would you expect these to last?
Oh, at least 20 years, and they used to give like a 10 to 15 year lifespan on panels that we've had out there for 25 years now that are still functioning. So yeah, they will last longer than that.
Okay, and it was good to see, as, there was a step of decommissioning, in what it would cost like that, as there are individuals that are quite concerned about the hazardous materials and what are done with the hazardous materials. And I know there were costs associated with the disposal, and, what typically happens with the materials when these are disposed of.
Well, we scrap out everything that we possibly can, because a lot of those things can be recovered. In Minnesota though, for the PV modules, a lot of times people will want those even after decommissioning. So we've got them at decommissioning at like $2 per module to scrap. There's really no scrapping company that does photovoltaic modules in Minnesota right now. So if we did want to fully scrap those, we have to ship them out, but we recover pretty much everything that we can get, even the screw piles that we put in and everything, so.
Okay, another comment I would make, as read this here, it's, the soil is very poor and sandy, and yeah, it definitely would make a good site for it. You're not taking anything of real value out of, work here, so that was, great to see that, but, for now, that's all the questions I have, and thank you.
Okay, thank you, Marv. Okay, we got a lot of information. You guys put together a really good packet to give us a lot of information. So a lot of things are answered, but I have a few things. One is like, how much electricity is this gonna produce, and like, is it gonna like take up all the needs of St. Francis or part of the hospital, or what? How much needs would that meet?
I don't think it would cover entirely the entire Franciscan Sisters whole place, but a big chunk of that. I mean, a 500 kilowatt, you could power about 100, average size homes with that. Approximately, but we're also in Minnesota, we just had a month and a half of clouds,
Yeah.
You just never know, but it will help the hospital.
Okay, I think that's a good thing. 100 homes, I can grasp that, so. Okay. Another thing, I was maybe concerned with, or just maybe you could clarify, is, it's runs along, Highway 10's kind of to the east there a little bit. The pitch of the solar panels and that, is there gonna do any testing as far as like glare? Is it ever gonna affect anything on Highway 10 or anything like that? And glare, I guess that'd be one of my concerns.
We had to do a glare study for the FAA, and there's no concerns there.
Okay,
Mr. Chair?
go ahead, Amy.
Well, the glare study was for aeronautical reasons, but you are proposing a vegetative buffer of trees on that east side.
We are, but I mean, it would be some time before those were,
Yeah,
substantial.
exactly.
But, at any of the tilt that these are at and any of that, there wouldn't be a problem with glare.
Okay, that'd be my biggest concern, being it's right along Highway 10. I know it's a small section because you got trees to the southeast of the cluster and all that, but so they probably wouldn't see a lot of it until they're right even with it, but that would be a concern I think that I'd have, is just to make sure that we don't have a glare, and I think it's our due diligence to just make sure that, being it's on the state highway like that, that's.
Oh, yeah.
And then with our bond, or however you want to say that, for the decommissioning or whatever, the number that you gave or whoever gave, I don't know if that's enough, if it's more than enough, but I think maybe we should have a little discussion on that a little bit. I don't know, anybody on the board have anything that they want to bring up about that? I know you talked about, showed what the scrap value would be and all that type of stuff, but I mean, we're looking at 25 years from now, Is there enough built into this for the inflation of that?
Well, and Alex isn't here today. He couldn't be here, but he could speak better on this one. Alex Gass that you've been in contact with. But we feel very confident with that number. We have that safety factor put into the 12,355. Unless something outrageous happened, we believe this is a good decommissioning price for this sizable project. And the factors that usually will make it more expensive are, really hard to get to areas and stuff. This is pretty simple, sandy soil. Yeah, I think this is good. If there's a question about, what would be a good number?
If I may, I looked through that just here recently, and a lot of the soil and aggregates are proposed to stay on site. So there,
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead.
can you repeat that? I'm sorry, I didn't catch that.
as I was reading through this, just at the beginning of the meeting, I was seeing that a lot of the soils that would be moved around are staying on site. So there isn't a lot of trucking in of soils and trucking out of soils.
Mr. Chair?
Go ahead, Amy.
I think the bigger concern with decommissioning is that, and statewide with solar installations is that generally, the property owner is there and the company that installed it is long gone after that. And so there needs to be a set aside for funds to not restore the site that way, but to handle those units and who knows what that market is gonna look like at that time. So it's really so if this doesn't get done by either the property owner or by Cedar Creek or whomever happens to own Cedar Creek 25 years from now, that the county has the funds to go in and do that. And so that's what we're looking at, not so much about how we're going to restore the site with on-site soils, but if we were in the position of having to properly dispose of those panels and all of that, would we have the funds to do that? And so that's, I guess, more what we're looking at through that for the decommissioning plan.
Could we get that sheet that you?
Absolutely, yes,
Thank you.
yes.
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead,
So
John.
you're really looking at this from the perspective that, so if you were 25 years ago, this panel lasts for 25 years. That's 19.99 for us, right? That's like $1.84 to $1. I mean, that's significant. And we're shooting for 125.
I really can't speak too much to that. That'll be Cedar Creek's ballpark.
Okay,
Yeah, I mean, we can push those numbers around a little and get more input, but we felt fairly confident with that number Alex did. And that would be like a city bond, I imagine, right? It could be something we did as a bond.
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead, Amy.
I had discussion with our auditor treasurer to see what sort of mechanism she would prefer, because she's the one who would hold that for the county. And she was suggesting a CD. So there would be a cash input to a CD
Yeah.
that would gain interest, but then whenever that came due, then we'd reevaluate to see, okay, at 25 years, we need to have however much, and depending on the performance of that CD, then there may need to be more inputs into that. So that's what she was suggesting, so.
Sounds.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So that's where I was getting when I spoke earlier, what John's saying. But inflation and stuff, and I'm not gonna say a number. I don't think that's enough, but I think the commissioners are all here, and I'm saying this so that they can think about if that's enough for the county. I think the number's a little bit low, but I don't think we're gonna sit up here and dictate what that number's gonna be. I think we can leave that for them guys to do, but I think we need to talk about it so that they understand, where you guys are coming from and kind of our concerns, and I'm sure they have the same ones, but, so that's just my thing is looking forward 25, 30 years from now. If it's enough with inflation and things, because, so that's why I brought it up and that's why I had this discussion. I don't, maybe there has to be some more investigation into that, by somebody before the commissioners decide on this. If this is a accurate number or if they feel comfortable with it, you know.
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead, Amy.
may I ask a question? I know the Franciscan sisters own this property. Are they gonna, and they're gonna continue to own the property, I assume? Okay, and Cedar Creek is not leasing this property, so so essentially the Franciscan sisters are gonna be putting up this financial assurance.
Right.
Correct? You're just simply installing the system
Yes.
and getting it put together, so. So I think when it comes to this, to the financial assurance, I think for sure at the county board meeting, we're gonna wanna have somebody there that is in a position to agree to whatever that cost is going to be and whatever funding mechanism that's going to be, because that really is gonna be something that I know the board will wanna drill into, at their meeting in 2 weeks.
Oh, yeah. And,
Okay.
and we put this together for their benefits
Yep.
because we have
Yep.
experience with this, so.
Absolutely, they're contracting you to do that work.
Yep,
Makes
yep.
total sense.
Yep. It's just if,
But you're not putting up that financial assurance, they are.
yeah.
So we want to make
Yeah.
sure that that is something that they understand and can respond to.
I just wanted to get this out so that the Franciscan sisters and the county board hears it. And maybe they can reach out to each other before that and have a discussion on that too.
Yeah.
I just, me personally, I'm not quite sure if that's the right amount, but that's just my personal opinion. I don't want to get into that so deep tonight. We got this other stuff that we're going through, so, but I wanted it to be known to everybody, so. You guys have any other questions?
Mr. Chair, so John had asked you the question earlier about the amount of, time it would take, and I think you talked about the possible traffic after this, so that if I remember correctly, it'd be a few months, that's what you're hoping to have this built in.
Built, but sometimes the power companies can take a long time to make the interconnection. So.
They're 1 year out on the transformer, I read that, so that's might be a little bit of time. So the other part of it is, once it's built, one of our questions is, the increase of traffic in area. How often is someone going to be coming back there, doing things with this? How much is traffic going to increase after this is built?
The only traffic that would, unless there was some service issue or something like that. Somebody would, like me, does an erosion inspection usually once a week during construction, and then after construction, we come by once a week. It'd probably be once a month that you might see somebody after that. Very little traffic.
Okay,
Yeah.
sounds good. Thanks,
They-
Lisa.
They sit there and make energy. They're pretty simple.
Okay.
Somebody could put beehives out.
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead, Dave.
are you responsible for the seeding and the planting of the trees?
We're gonna, I believe we're subcontracting somebody to put the pollinator seed in for us. But sometimes we do it ourselves. Yes,
And making sure that it germinates and flourishes there. If it doesn't, you replant it.
yep,
And who waters the trees? Had a drought last year.
yeah, I'm not sure.
Is that yours or is that Franciscan sister?
Well, ultimately, as the builder of the system, and if that's in our plan, then we're responsible for that part of it. If the trees die, we have to replant
Yep.
this kind of thing, so,
So it's in your interest to keep alive.
yes.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else?
Also, or this phase one environmental site assessment? Is there a phase two?
No.
Why is it called phase one?
Oh, I don't know why it's.
Mr. Chair,
Yeah,
Go ahead, Amy, maybe.
that's a generally accepted term. Phase 1 is really like on its face. on its surface, they just do, as you can see, it covers, you know, what can we easily find out about the site?
Very easily followed up,
Correct.
very.
Yep, and that's why they call it a phase one. It's, yep.
But that's
So-
enough.
That is enough. That is generally what will happen with that, with a use like this, we'll see a phase one. The only time you'd see something deeper is if there's some concern that is brought out in a phase one that would warrant further investigation.
Lots of feelings and impressions here. Not a lot of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was kind of impressed on how many things they gotta check just before they even. So that it's pretty well thoroughly looked at, put it that way, so. Yeah, I guess we're ready, you guys ready for public comment? Okay, so I guess at this time, we'll open the meeting to public comment. Anybody has any public comment? Please go to the podium, state your name and where you're with.
George Sandy, Falls Township.
I don't know if it's on, George.
Let's see.
We couldn't hear you. Okay, George, just come up to this microphone up here.
So George Sandy, Little Falls Township. I guess Little Falls Township would be in support of this, taking into consideration, you know, the buffers, the possible cleanup cost 25 years down the road. And
Excuse me, sorry, Galen, can you please mute yourself? Okay, sorry, we have someone joining.
the fact, you know, I guess we probably would not be in support of it if they were gonna cut down all them pine trees. We got a real problem with that. To cut down trees, put up solar panels doesn't make much sense to me. So we would be in support of it.
Okay, thank you. Any other public comment? Any other public comment? Okay, I'll ask one more time. Any public comment? If hearing no more public comment, I'll close this portion of the meeting to the public. Okay, you guys have anything else? Or was ready to go through the criteria questions?
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead, Dave.
I assume we don't need any of the things we discussed to be a condition because it's in their proposal, the trees and whatever. On the care maintenance.
Mr. Chair, I would say you're considering their application in this, based on the spirit in which they're doing that. If you want to make sure that those trees are installed on the east and south side and that they're maintained and all of that, then I would suggest that you put a condition on there.
I would propose that, and you worded it pretty well, I think. Everybody else was okay?
Yep. Anybody else? Okay, so we'll have the condition that the trees be put on them where they stated in their application and that it be maintained, that'd be a condition. Okay. Question one, the use will not put an excess burden on roadways, utilities and public facilities such as parks and schools. Dave?
The applicant stated very, fair amount of traffic during construction. Maybe up to 25 workers during that time. And then follow up, like you said, once a week, but then after that, once a month at most, I would guess, would be the access to that site. By Cedar Creek, same for our Franciscan sisters or NVNL, probably, pretty self-maintaining, I would guess. So no excess burden on the road there, utilities, well, this would be, and it's overseen by the NVNL, so it'll be done right.
Anybody else have anything to add? Question one.
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead, Marvin.
I would like to include that studies have been taken of this for the airport. Saying there wouldn't be any glare issues that will be related to this also. And then as the conditions with the trees there also.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we'll move on to question 2. The request will not be detrimental to the use and enjoyment of other property in the immediate vicinity for the purposes already permitted, nor impede the normal and orderly development and improvement of surrounding vacant property for uses predominant area. Marvin.
Yes, and as stated earlier, as the conditions, that they would be planting additional trees, to be buffers. There's trees to the south, which the township was concerned about, and, they agreed to leave them there, not to touch them. So it receives the township's blessings. With this being said, it definitely will not be detrimental for the enjoyment of others. And it fits well in that type of area. It's, you know, sandy, loomy, not, and off to the side in the corner there. And you hardly notice it other than maybe on Highway 10. And once the trees grow up, it will not be an eyesore there.
Anybody else have anything to add to question 2? If not, we'll move to question 3. The use and opinion of the planning commission is reasonably related to the existing land use and environment. Groundwater, surface water, and air quality in the surrounding area will not be adversely affected by the proposed use. John?
The applicant covers this thoroughly in their response to the questions. Then you go through the packet of all the different studies that they had to cover. And then last but certainly not least, if the DNR had an issue with this based on their report, they'd be here tonight.
Anybody have anything to add to question 3?
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead, Dave.
just, the addition of the screening in there takes away the, existing uses, within the area, the commercial and residential use that might be affected by it, or passing traffic, or even the airport. So, reasonably related and accepted to existing use. And it is a zoned ag, is not used presently as ag, so again, just a good use of the existing.
Okay. Now, so move to question 4. The use is consistent with the purposes of the zoning ordinance and the purposes of the zoning district in which the applicant intends to locate the proposed use. It's zoned ag. This is a acceptable use in that. I think what kind of helps with a lot of this is with all the trees that are there, they've got a nice pine forest there pretty much. That's not gonna get touched, planting other trees around it. Hopefully in time, like right now, the only time you're gonna see it is if you're on Highway 10, I believe. With them trees coming up, that'll help it. But I think by planting the pollinators and leaving that forest there, I think that fits in with the ag zoning. So I believe that it is consistent with the purpose of the zoning district and the ordinance. Anybody have anything to add to question 4? If not, we'll move to question 5. The use is not in conflict with the comprehensive plan or the water plan in the county. Dave?
Yeah, as always, in the staff report, the ordinance, plan, or planning goal, comprehensive plan goals, objectives, and are stated by the staff. You all done again. If you were to look at this property and the zoning around it, it's like an island of ag. It's got commercial and residential surrounding it. It's not being used as ag right now, so it's consistent with the use of the OT, even though ag is taking a priority. In this case, not the case. But just a goal listed here, I can't see one of them that is in contrast with what they're proposing. So consistent with the comprehensive plan and the ordinance provided for by comprehensive plan and ordinance, and regulated by comprehensive planning ordinance.
Thank you, Dave. Anybody have anything to add to question 5? If not, we'll proceed to vote on the questions. Keep in mind, the one condition we have with the planting the trees that are proposed in their application and, also, making sure they stay alive. Okay, question 1. The use will not put an excess burden on roadways, utilities, and public facilities such as parks and schools. Dave,
Yes,
Marvin,
Yes.
John?
Yes,
Myself, Clint is yes. Question 2, the request will not be detrimental to the use and enjoyment of other property in the immediate vicinity for the purposes already permitted, nor impede the normal and orderly development and improvement of surrounding vacant property for uses predominant area. Marvin,
Yes.
John,
yes,
myself, Clint is yes. Dave?
yes,
Question 3, the use in the opinion of the planning commission is reasonably related to the existing land use and the environment. Groundwater, surface water, and air quality in the surrounding area will not be adversely affected by the proposed use. John,
yes,
myself, Clint is yes. Dave,
yes,
Marvin.
Yes.
The use is consistent with the purpose of the zoning ordinance and the purposes of the zoning district in which the applicant intends to locate the proposed use. Myself, Clint is yes. Dave,
yes,
Marvin,
Yes.
John.
yes,
Question 5, the use is not in conflict with the comprehensive plan or the water plan of the county. Dave,
yes,
Marvin,
Yes.
John,
yes.
myself, Clint is yes. Okay, looks like we answered all the questions in the affirmative, so I guess we'd obtain a motion to recommend approval with the condition. Can I have a motion for that?
I'll make a motion to recommend approval with the conditions to the commissioners.
second that,
Okay. Motion made and seconded to recommend approval with the condition. All in favor, say aye. Marvin,
Aye.
John,
Aye,
Dave,
aye,
myself, Clint is aye. Okay, so we'll recommend to the commissioners, for approval of this. That'll be on their meeting on February 13th. Then also, like Amy stated, probably make sure that somebody from Franciscan Sisters is there that can make that authority for the money. And if you have any questions on that, feel free to reach out to your commissioner and have a discussion on that. I think they're gonna probably talk about that pretty hard.
Okay, you said that meeting on the 13th is at 9 AM.
Yes, that meeting starts at 9 AM. I'm generally not on the agenda right at 9, but that's when that starts and it's here.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, any questions for any of you between now and then, contact Amy or Land Services and they'll try and help you. Thank you.
good luck with that.
Okay, so now, we have any. Okay, we gotta approve the minutes from November 28th. Anybody make a motion to approve?
I will make that motion to approve the minutes as presented.
Seconded,
Okay, motion made and seconded to approve the November 28th, 2023 minutes. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
aye,
Okay, minutes approved. Any new business?
Mr. Chair, I just wanted to let you know that I am working on some ordinance amendments. There'll be several, and so those will be, you'll get more information as those come together, but we'll be seeing some ordinance amendments before the construction season starts, and so just wanted to let you know that those are in the works. I think for new business, otherwise, I don't think I've got anything for new business for planning commission.
Okay. Any old business?
Mr. Chair, I don't have any old business.
Hearing no old business, I guess we can take a motion adjourn.
motion so moved.
second.
Okay, motion made and seconded to adjourn. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, meeting adjourned.
Right, Galen and Ann, we're just gonna get rearranged here a little bit and then we'll get started, okay?
Look at Lacey.
That guy's got it from